Mapleshade's Vengeance. Chapter 1.
Steady on, Mapleshade, you just trod on my tail!
The Wind Clan warrior jerked away with a hiss.
Sorry, Swift Flight.
Mapleshade apologized over her shoulder as she plunged deeper into the throng of cats. The light of the full moon turned all their pelts to silver, and fur tickled Mapleshade's nose. Above her, Oakstar's voice echoed around the trunks of the 4 gigantic oak trees. My warriors have tracked the adders to their nest at Snake Rocks and blocked the hole with stones, the Thunder Clan leader reported. Thanks to their courage, no adders have since been seen in our territory. Though we're lucky not to get bitten, grunted a Shadow Clan elder near Mapleshade's ear.
Too right,
agreed her clanmate.
Remember when Marshpaw trod on an adder in his first patrol? That was a bad way to die.
The first cat shrugged.
I've seen worse.
Mapleshade rolled her eyes. Trust Shadow Clan cats to get competitive about deaths they have watched. She dodged around a rock and emerged among a cluster of River Clan cats. Instantly pelts bristled and she felt eyes burn into her.
There may be a truce,
snarled the Black Warrior Rainfall.
But don't push your luck, Thunder Clan mouse dung.
Mapleshade ducked her head. I mean no harm, she mewed. I'm not staying.
Good,
growled a cat she couldn't see. Mapleshade forced her hair to lie flat as she wove among the hostile warriors. She couldn't blame RiverClan for being angry. ThunderClan had triumphed in the last clash over Sunning Rocks. Defeat was the bitterest wound of all.
Remember what happened to Birchface and Flowerpaw,
Rainfall murmured in her ear, so close that Mapleshade could feel the heat of his fish breath.
Those rocks belong to us. And we'll kill as many of your clanmates as we need to until you give them up.
Mapleshade stumbled as a memory seared through her brain. Appledusk, a light brown RiverClan warrior with piercing green eyes, striking Birchface so hard that the ThunderClan cat lost his footing and slipped from the very top of Sunning Rocks. He landed with a splash in the swollen river. His apprentice Flowerpaw leaped in after him and struggled to keep Birchface's head out of the water, but the current was too strong, and they were swept downstream into the half-submerged Crossing Rocks. For one terrible moment, dark tabby and dappled gray heads rose above the surface, screeching in fear, and then both vanished into the tumbling foam. Their bodies were found just beyond the stones, washed up on the ThunderClan shore as if they were making a last desperate effort to go home. Mapleshade swallowed a burst of rage at the warriors around her. Why did RiverClan insist on fighting over a bunch of rocks that were clearly on ThunderClan's territory? She lowered her head and pushed her way through the knot of hostile cats. She made it to the edge of the hollow where the shadows clustered more densely, dark enough to hide among. Suddenly, a pale brown shape loomed in front of her, and Mapleshade's nostrils flared at the scent of fish. She looked up, her heart pounding.
What are you doing here?
Hissed Appledusk. His long front claws caught the moonlight as he sank them in the grass. Mapleshade's words seemed to be stuck in her throat. She stared into the RiverClan warrior's holly-colored eyes and tried to breathe normally. She wondered if any of her clanmates were watching. Appledusk took a step closer and lowered his head until his muzzle brushed the tip of Mapleshade's ear.
You must know how dangerous it is for you to be here. What would happen if your clanmates saw you talking to me?
Mapleshade leaned forward until her cheek pressed against Appledusk's feather-soft chest fur. I had to speak with you, she murmured. It's been too long. I waited for you at the sycamore tree every night, but you never came. The Tom's breath warmed the back of her neck. I know, he purred. But since the battle, we've been doubling our border patrols, even after dark. I can't cross the river without being spotted. He took a step back, and Mapleshade felt a rush of cold air on her pelt. I'll try to get across at new moon. Things might have calmed down by then. If only you hadn't killed Birchface, Mapleshade whispered. Of all the cats to lose in battle, it had to be Oakstar's son. She felt Appledusk stiffen beneath his pelt. It was an accident, he growled. I never meant for him to fall into the river. Mapleshade closed her eyes. That's not the way my clanmates see it. They blame you for both our losses. Then they're fools, Appledusk shuddered, then relaxed. But Sunning Rocks has always made our clans a little mouse-brained. He licked the top of Mapleshade's head. Thanks, StarClan, you didn't get hurt in the battle. Mapleshade gazed up at him. Oh, my precious warrior. I love you with all my heart. There's something you need to know, she mewed. Appledusk was looking over her head toward the pool of moonlight where his clanmate stood. Can't it wait? I don't think so. Mapleshade took a deep breath. I'm expecting your kids. There was a flash of green as Appledusk opened his eyes wide. Are you sure? Mapleshade nodded. The River Clan warrior curled his tail over his back. I'm going to be a father, he purred. Incredible. He tipped his head to one side. But these kids will be half-clan. Half-River Clan. How will your clanmates feel about that? They won't know, Mapleshade answered. She noticed Appledusk flinch. At least not at first, she went on. I will raise them as ThunderClan until they have been fully accepted. Then every cat will be able to cope with the truth. Why should it matter that their father lives in a different clan? The fur on Appledusk's shoulders twitched. You have great faith in your clanmates, he murmured. No, I have faith in StarClan, and in the Warrior Code. You think StarClan approves of what we're doing? Appledusk narrowed his eyes. I think our warrior ancestors know that our clan need kids, and that we are providing them. How can our innocent kids not have their blessing? They will grow up to be fine warriors, loyal to ThunderClan and RiverClan equally. Mapleshade turned away before Appledusk could say anything else. I must return to my clanmates before they come looking for me. Perhaps it's best if we don't see each other again until after the kids have come. She looked back over her shoulder. But I will be thinking of you every day, my love. As she padded into the shadows that ringed the hollow, Mapleshade heard rapid paw steps. Appledusk! There you are! I've been looking for you! Mapleshade stopped, hoping her white patches weren't glowing in the moonlight. A dark orange she-cat was pressing herself against Appledusk's shoulder. One of the Shadow Clan elders is telling a story about a cat who swallowed a live frog, she mewed. Come and listen! It's really funny! With a worried glance at the shadows where Mapleshade crouched, Appledusk followed the she-cat back to the cluster of cats. The orange warrior curled her tail until it was resting on Appledusk's back. Mapleshade curled her lip. Stay away from him, Reedshine. He's mine. These kids will make sure of that.
Mapleshade, wake up!
A small ginger face poked through the branches that sheltered the warrior's den.
B-Tail wants you to go on dawn patrol. You're late.
All right, Nettlepaw, I'm coming. Mapleshade heaved herself to her paws. Last night she had felt the kits stirring inside her for the first time. Is it because your father knows about you now? She craned her head around to lick the rumpled fur on her flank, then pushed her way out of the den. She felt strangely heavy, unbalanced by her swollen belly. The air in the clearing was still and cold, tasting of old leaves and damp earth. The little orange apprentice bounced around Mapleshade.
Hurry up! When did you get so slow?
Mapleshade flicked him lightly with her tail. What would Daredevil do if you spoke like that to her, Nettlepaw looked down at the ground at the mention of his mentor.
She'd probably make me pick ticks off rabbit fur for a moon, he admitted.
Mapleshade purred, too full of joy about her kits to be short-tempered. No, you're lucky that I won't punish you then. Now off you go and let me speak to B-Tail. The apprentice scampered off with a squeak. Mapleshade headed over to the ThunderClan deputy, who was standing beside the entrance to Oakstar's den. The dark brown tabby nodded as Mapleshade approached. I'd like you to join the Dawn Patrol, please, he meowed. Frecklewish is leading it. Actually, there's something I need to tell you, Mapleshade began. Her paws tingled. I won't be able to carry out my usual duties for a while. I'm expecting kids. B-Tail blinked. Oh, right. I wasn't expecting that. Well, you must only do what you feel up to. Does Oakstar know? Not yet. Why don't I help out in camp today? Mapleshade suggested. She couldn't resist glancing at the curve of her belly. I could fetch some soaked moss for the elders if you'd like. That would be great, mewed B-Tail. He shifted his paws. And, congratulations! Thank you, purred Mapleshade. It's wonderful news, isn't it? Indeed, B-Tail mewed. And these kits,
Their father?
I will be raising them alone,
Mapleshade answered firmly. The deputy looked startled for a moment, then dipped his head. May StarClan lay you a path, and, the path of your kits. Still rumbling with delight, Mapleshade turned and headed back across the clearing. Since she wasn't needed on the dawn patrol, she could go back to her nest until the rest of the clan stirred. She knew she had to save her strength for when the kits arrived. She was dozing in dappled sunlight when she was roused by paws thrumming outside the den. Frecklewish burst in, her speckled golden fur fluffed up and her eyes sparkling.
"Beetail told me about the news," she purred. "I am so happy for you."
Mapleshade sat up and curled her thick white tail over her paws.
"Thank you."
"You see, Apple Dusk? My clanmates will only be delighted to have new kits in the camp." Frecklewish stood beside Mapleshade's nest, looking uncharacteristically shy.
"Beetail also told me that you would be raising these kits alone," she mewed.
Mapleshade tensed. She had not anticipated questions about her kit's father so soon. Frecklewish looked down at the floor of the den. Is that because their father is dead?" She lifted her gaze, and Mapleshade almost winced at the blaze of hope in her eyes. Are these Birchface's kits?" Frecklewish whispered. "Is my brother going to live on through you?" The air in the warrior's den was suddenly so thick that Mapleshade couldn't catch her breath. Is StarClan offering me a way for my kits to be accepted by their clanmates? I can't lie, not if I want them to know the truth later. She stared at Frecklewish, unable to speak. The golden she-cat didn't seem to need a response from Mapleshade, though. She nodded slowly, and the light in her eyes burned even more brightly. I'm right, aren't I? Oh, thanks, StarClan, and thank you, Mapleshade. You will never know how much this means to me. I thought I would never be happy again after Birchface was killed in that terrible battle. But now I can help you raise his kids. Teach them that their father was a true ThunderClan hero. Watch them take his place in the clan." She broke off and stepped gently into the nest until she was crouched beside Mapleshade. She stretched out her front paw until it rested on Mapleshade's orange and white flank. "I hope Birchface can see us," she murmured. Mapleshade took a deep breath. "I have not lied out loud. This was all Frecklewish's doing. But I cannot turn down this chance to have my kits welcomed with the love they deserve. Appledusk will understand that I have to put ThunderClan first. For now, at least." She unfurled her tail until it was resting on Frecklewish's shoulder. "You have answered my prayers, Frecklewish," she mewed softly. "My kits and I are no longer alone." Frecklewish's dark amber gaze shone back at her. "Never," she vowed. "These kits will be the best thing to ever happen to our clan."